Well, hi there. I'm going to show you how to make my Ewrap owl brimless hat. And a lot of people have been asking me about Ewrap owl in the round, so I thought I would show it to you. Now, this is with a thick and thin yarn that I wound myself and spun myself out of merino wool. And I'm going to get it at an angle where, there you go. Now you can see it. It is ridged, and you have the Ewrap stitch coming up high and the owl eye stitch receding down, and that's what gives you this ridged look. So it's quite a beautiful stitch, very easy to do. No purls except one that I put in the cast on. And the loom I'm using is a 36 peg loom. It's from all the circle sets like Nifty Knitter and Loops and Threads and all those. But this one is a Doris set. It's one of my favorite plastic sets. It's quite cheap and economical, and I like the way the pegs are. It's quite very similar to what the Nifty Knitter is like. But my Nifty Knitters are kind of worn out on the pegs, so it's really nice to be able to get the Doris sets. Okay, so is there anything else you need to know? I don't, well, this is a bulky, just so you know, this is a bulky yarn, and and this loom is 3/4 inch. But you can do it on any loom with any yarn that fits it. Just do a swatch. And my video is already out of doing this in a flat panel, and I have lots of flat panels. I have the 10 stitch one and a scarf, so I have lots of flat panels in this stitch. It's one of my favorite stitches. Now what you're going to do to get started is on a even loom is the best way to do this, and you just mark every second peg. Okay, so that you know, because one peg will be one stitch, the other peg will be another stitch, and you'll just keep going round and around and around and around. Very easy. Okay, so that's how you set up the loom. Now, if you're on an odd peg loom, you can still do it. You'll just have two pegs that are repeated. The stitch is repeated, but that could be in the back. And if it's a slouchy hat especially, you'd never see it. So there you go. Okay, so I'm going to take you how to do this cast on, and this is a cast on I do to get this nice kind of braided look on the brim. It's brimless, but it gives you this nice braided look, right? Keeps it from curling on the end. And it looks like this if you turn it this way, and it looks like this if you turn it this way. So I'm going to take you to how to do this cast on and get the beginning looking like this, and then we'll go straight into showing you how to do the stitch. So we will see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I cast on and do my first couple rows to get that effect at the front of the brim. Okay. So you can use any yarn and loom. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that they match for the how tight or how loose you want the stitch. So the first thing I do is I'm just going to make a slip knot and put it on the first peg. The yarn I'm using is a bulky yarn, and I'm on a 5/8 inch loom. It has 44 pegs, which is small. It's a youth size or a very small woman's head. Anyway, so I do the slip knot. Then I'm going to take the loom hook, okay, and put it in the top of it. I'm going to pull up the working yarn. So this is just the crochet chain stitch without a loom hook. Okay. Oh, and yeah, this yarn that I spun, it's 100% merino wool, just in case you were wondering. Okay, and then I tighten it, and I put the loop behind, and I tighten it, and I put the loop behind, and I tighten it, loop behind, and I tighten it, loop behind, and I tighten it. And you're just going to do that all the way around the loom. Okay, just like this, all the way around. I have a stitch marker here, but it doesn't matter. Maybe I'll just take it off. It's for something else that I did. Okay. And we just keep going around. So I'm just going to put you on pause while I go most of the other way around, and we'll meet you up in a bit. Okay, I'm getting close to the end of the row now. And I'm just going to pop this peg on here, or this yarn on here, and knit it over. And we are cast on, and we've already done the first stitch there, so I'm not going to do any more because it's going to be heavy enough. Okay, so to get started, we do a row of owl eye. So to do owl eye, we go over the first peg, knit it off, come over peg 1 and 2, knit them off. Whatever peg you're on is peg 1, go over 1 and 2 nice and loose, and just knit it off. Go over 1 and 2, knit it off. Always on the first peg that you start on, it's always peg 1, go over 1 and 2 nice and loose, and knit them off. That's all there is to it, and we're just going to go all the way around the loom. Okay, so we will just catch up when we're close to the end of the row. Okay, so I'm getting close to the end of the row here. And then I'm just going to come over here like this and end my row right there. I'll do one more stitch over. And the reason I did that is because this had less stitches on it. Then we're going to do a row of purl. Okay, so you put the loom hook in here, pull up the working yarn, and just slip it over the top. Put the loom hook here, scoop up the yarn, and just flip it over the top like that. Okay, pull it up and forward, over, and just tighten slightly. And we're just going to go all the way around the loom doing the purl stitch. And then the cast on will be complete, and you will have that look on the front. Okay, so I will meet you up when we get close to the end of the row. Okay, so I finished the row of purl. Now we do one more row of owl eye. And so again, this is how I do it. And then I'll just meet you up at the end, and we will have we'll have the look. Okay, so I will see you when we get back around. Okay, so I'm done that, and it's hard to see, but this is the look that you're going to have on your brim. This beautiful chain look. So at this point, if you're doing brimless, you just go right into the stitch you're using, or if you want to have an owl eye brim, you just start doing some rows of owl eye. Okay, so I showed you this part here, and then we'll go on and do the project. Okay, so now that you know how to cast on and do the brim, I'm going to show you how to do the stitch. So I've got on every one of my marked pegs, I'm doing one stitch, and on the blank pegs, I'm doing the other stitch, okay? So you can decide how you're going to do this, but I am doing the owl eye on all of the yellow pegs. So to do the owl eye on one peg, you go over it and knit it. Okay, and then you would knit it again, and then you'd go over here and do the Ewrap. But the easy way I do it is just to do the owl eye and come behind and do the Ewrap. And then you can do it in one motion. So I'll show you how I do it, okay? Then I come over to the new peg. I do a Ewrap, and then I come over and behind and knit it over. Very easy. Now the other way to do it is to come over and do a Ewrap, come back over and do another Ewrap, then come behind and do an Ewrap on the next peg, and then go back to this peg. Okay, so you can do it that way if you want, but I'm going to do it like this because it's faster. Okay, so you just go around and you do go over and you come over and behind. Whoop. And you knit it off, okay? So just keep going like that, and you just keep going until you get it long enough. That's all there is to it. Very, very easy stitch. Really nice way to make a brimless hat. And so I will see you when it's time to cast off, and that's after I do a couple rows, and we will go ahead and start the cast off. Okay, I finished the row. So now what we're going to do before we go to the cast off video is we're just going to do a couple rows of Ewrap, and you can do 1, 2, 3 rows, as many as you want, but you have to do at least one row because we're going to do a reduced bind off, and if you don't have a loose stitch like Ewrap, you're going to have a hard time moving them over. Okay, and Ewrap is easy. You just go behind the peg and around, and you just keep going like that all the way around the loom. So do a couple rows of Ewrap, and then I will take you to the cast off video. So you'll see you when we're finished and you've cast it off, and then we'll look at the finished hat, and I'm going to add a pom-pom. Okay, so we'll see you in a bit. And now we can go ahead and bind it off, and I'm just going to do a slightly decreased bind off so I don't get a lot of bulk, and it's pretty easy to do. So all we're going to do first is do a row of Ewrap, and it doesn't matter which stitch you ended with, whether you ended with the Jupiter stitch or the Ewrap, it'll work fine either way. So we're just going to Ewrap nice and loose all the way around the loom. And the reason you want to keep it loose is you're going to have to move some stitches, and you want to them to be fairly loose to move. I just kind of gently push it to make sure I'm keeping it nice and loose. Okay, and then you're just going to knit the last one to secure it. Knit it over, and then you're just going to go around the loom and knit off the Ewrap. Okay, so I'll just put you on pause and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that that's done, what you're going to do is you're going to go by twos all the way around the loom, and every second peg is going to go on the first peg, the yarn. So you're going to take it off and you're just going to move it over to the peg before it. So just taking it off and moving it to the peg before it. And you're just going to go all the way around the loom. So you'll have 2 loops on peg 1, nothing, 2 loops on peg 2, nothing, or two loops over here. And you're just going to keep doing that so that every second peg will be blank and every second peg will have the 2 loops on it. Okay? So if you are on an uneven loom, you won't have an even amount of pegs, so you just don't bother doing the last one. Doesn't really matter. And because I kept this nice and loose, it's quite easy for me to move these over. Just awkward because the angle I have it, but okay, so I'm going to put you on pause, and as you see how this is looking, and we're just going to meet up when we have that done. Okay, now that you have that all done, all you're going to do is go around the loom and knit the bottom one over the top, like that. And that reduces the bulk so that your cast off and back of your hat will lay a lot flatter. And a couple more. And then the one more. And there we are, and there's the working yarn coming out of this one. And then all we're going to do is, with the working yarn, go around the loom 1.5 times and just cut your yarn. Now you can either use your loom hook or a needle, and we're just going to go up and scoop up the loops so we can do a drawstring bind off. And I usually use a needle, but if you were going to use your loom hook, which is easy to do with this method, you just take the yarn and pull it through like that. And if you have a needle, you just put the needle on and you're going to pick it up the same way. I usually use a needle. This is so much easier though when you're doing it sometimes. On a bigger loom, I'd for sure want a needle. Okay, so I'm just going to put you on pause and we'll pick it all up, and I'll see you at the beginning. Okay, now when we get all the way around, we make sure we pick up the very first stitch that we had already picked up. You want to make sure that every peg is on here. Now all you have to do is take all the pegs off the loom. You just go around and you just flip them off. I'm just holding on to the drawstring here because I want to make sure that it doesn't come off. And we just take them all off. And you can even do it with your fingers. And there we go. All off the loom. We can just put the loom to the side. We don't need it anymore. And then you're going to take the working yarn and you're just going to drawstring the brim closed. Okay, you're just going to make sure that it's all like that. And then when you get it about halfway, you're just going to take the working yarn and put it through the hat and flip it this way because we're going to finish it on the wrong side. And we just bind it up, and as you see here, it's going to be not as bulky as it would have been. We've thinned that out. Okay, and now this is when we do need a needle. So I'm just going to get a needle. I have a needle in this handy dandy little thing. And also you can cut the working yarn a lot shorter. You just need to sew that close. So I'm going to cut it to about there and put the needle through the yarn, or the yarn through the needle. Okay, there we go. So that's threaded, and we're just going to sew this closed. So what I do is, now that I've bound it up, is I kind of pinch it so I can see where that edge was, and then I make sure it's pulled nice and tight. There's the hole in the middle, so I just want to pinch it so I'm at that hole in the middle. And then I just take the needle and I just sort of sew around in a circle around that hole, just picking up some loops. Okay, and then I'm going to actually do a knot. My loom wants, or my yarn wants to be all weird. Go, and I'm going to do another knot. Just want to make sure that this doesn't come apart. I'm just going to go to the other side. And make another knot. And then you can sew the working yarn in if you'd like. I just actually, because it's not going to be reversible, I just cut it and leave it. It's not going to hurt anything. Doesn't bother me. And the other side of your hat looks like this. It's a lot thinner, but we'll take it. And we'll stretch our stitches, because that's what you always do when you make a hat, is you stretch your stitches. You pull it every way and make sure it's all stretched out. And then there's your hat. It's looking really nice. The top is flattened a lot better, your beanie hat, than it would have been. And there you go. You have a beautiful beanie hat. So here's the finished hat. And I really like the way it's looking. I put a pom-pom on it. You can see how nice that kind of a brim looks on it. So or cap, you know, the edge, because it's brimless, and it's really, you know, got nice texture here. And I put a white pom-pom on. I just quickly made it up because I just thought I wanted a pom-pom. I don't usually put pom-poms on, but I wanted a pom-pom. I just quickly made a pom-pom, and then I just tied it in. There's the thing that I bound that with, but I just tied it in. That way, if I ever want to take it out, I can just snip it. I can always attach more yarn to tie it in, and I can wear it with or without. It has the nice flat brim that I took you to. So there you go. There's the hat. I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, bye.